Classic Country AM 1450. It's time now to talk with Chris Graham of the Augusta Free Press, a weekend review from a news standpoint. Chris, obviously, probably for the next couple of weeks, about 5, 6 weeks, I think, still left in the 2011 General Assembly session. I'm sure on Fridays we'll continue to focus on that for the next month and a half. A very busy 2011 General Assembly session, and of course, going into the session, it was a 46-day session, so everything's going to happen pretty quick.
Well, yeah, they set that up a certain way. This is an election year, so they want to make sure to get out of Richmond as quickly as they can. The way things are set up, I mean, I guess I'm being cynical when I say this, but the way things are set up, state law says you can't raise money for a campaign during the active General Assembly session. So let's get the business of the state done pretty quick, and let's get back to the district so we can start running for re-election. And that said, this is also the second year of a 2-year budget cycle. The heavy lifting is done in the first year. So in the second year, pretty much you're just amending things. And this year might be a fun year for legislators, if I can even suggest that it could be a fun year, in the sense that, the last 3 or 4 budget years have been tight because revenues have been in decline, and forecasters weren't even able to accurately predict the decline. Well, this year there's actually, the last 10 months we've had 9 months of revenue growth, and it's been outpacing, even projected revenue growth. So legislators have more money to give out this year. So great lead-in for them for an election year that they have more money to give out, in a short session like this. I think you'll see some happy legislators as they're leaving Richmond in February.
And needless to say, two big issues I know talked about going into the session appear to be looming as maybe the two biggest issues of this session. Certainly two of the bigger ones would be the governor's attempt to raise some money for transportation improvements and, of course, his revamped privatization plan for ABC stores.
Yeah, and they both go hand in hand because the ABC privatization also goes into the transportation, at least as far as the governor's concerned. The $4 billion roads plan of the governor is the first major attempt, maybe dating back to Governor Warner, to do anything to address Virginia's transportation crisis here. And some Democrats and some conservatives have been criticizing the plan as a borrow and spend plan. Republicans have been critical of Democrats for proposing increasing taxes to find money for transportation, and the governor's floating the idea of borrowing, billions of dollars basically to get this jump started. So, 2 ways to go about it. You got to find money, and so the governor is also then talking about the ABC privatization, which, as we've discussed on this show in recent weeks, is something that both Democrats and Republicans seem to disagree with. They think it'll lose money for the state in the end. It won't raise as much at the beginning, and will be something that won't be a winner for the state down the line. So the governor's still trying to sell it as a revenue raiser, and as a result, it's not going to get a lot of traction. I still don't get any sense from the people I talk with in Richmond that this is going to linger any more than maybe a couple weeks into the session, and you'll see it die a quiet death.
Any of the big issues you see the lawmakers dealing with here in January and February?
I think those are the main things. I don't think they want to touch anything too controversial. I know that there are some people like Bob Marshall, who's not just running for re-election in November, but he's got his mind possibly on the Senate nomination in 2012. I think he's a long shot, to say the least, as far as that goes on the Republican side. But Bob Marshall is known for his social conservative legislation, and you're seeing some things from him, of course, from a few weeks ago. His proposal to keep gays and lesbians out of the Virginia National Guard, in response to Don't Ask, Don't Tell being overturned, and you'll see some other things from him. I think he kind of seized upon the news this week of the abortion doctor in Pennsylvania. That grisly story of the really just disastrous clinic that had been operating up there for 30 years. Well, of course, Bob Marshall then says Virginia needs to make sure that we tighten up our laws, and even though the laws are pretty set here in Virginia as far as that goes, but outside of Bob Marshall, I don't think we're going to see so much in the social issue area, because again, these guys and gals are running for re-election this year, and I think they pretty much want to maybe dole out some more money to the localities, figure out a couple programs they can give some money to with this extra money that's coming in, and then they want to head back home and run for re-election.
Hey, by the way, when folks go to your website, the Augusta Free Press website, interesting stories on there, like the new poll that shapes up Barack Obama against several possible Republican contenders.
Yeah. Public policy polling, does these things out of cycle, I guess you could say. The polling organizations have to do something when there's not an election going on. So, they frequently, at least once a month or so, they'll test, various things, including Barack Obama against the potential 2012 Republican field. And of course, it's wide open right now on the Republican side, because we know pretty much that Barack Obama, even if he does have a primary challenger, it's not going to be anybody serious. He's going to be the nominee on the Democratic side. So you go to the Republican side, and it could be anybody. I mean, nobody's formally announced announced at least any of the big contenders: Mitt Romney, Mike Huckabee, Sarah Palin, Newt Gingrich, and a few others that might be in that top list there. So you test everybody. Well, right now Barack Obama, sort of what you're calling, I'm seeing it called in the media, the lame duck bounce. After losing the Democrats losing the congressional elections in 2010, the November elections, Obama seemed to pivot pretty well, kind of like Bill Clinton did back in 1994 after Democrats lost those congressional midterms. And his popularity ratings, according to Gallup and other organizations, are in the mid 50s now, which is the strongest they've been since early 2009. And so he's polling better, not surprisingly then, against that Republican field. He would be ahead of Mike Huckabee and Mitt Romney by about 5 or 6 points, which is the same margin that he defeated John McCain by in 2008. And then against Newt Gingrich and Sarah Palin, much more significant lead. I think it's a 17-point lead over Sarah Palin right now. And that's probably not surprising either, considering a couple of missteps on her part. And then she's gotten caught up in this controversy of the national discussion over the Arizona shootings and probably hasn't played that very well. So she's losing support among Republicans. That's the most significant thing. And the other part of it is significant is that generally, no matter who the candidate is that they're testing against, that Barack Obama does much better among Republicans than he ever has. In fact, I think Sarah Palin only got in that poll, public policy polling poll, she was getting in the high 60s support among Republicans. That's not good, pulling your own people in at that low level. So Barack Obama, at least right now, he'd probably want to have the election right now if he could, because a lot can happen between now and November 2012. But he's looking better now, certainly, than he was any time last year.
Okay, and a couple other things I noticed on your website that we can talk about briefly here to wrap things up. Health officials saying earlier this week that the flu, widespread, it's been rated as widespread in this particular part of Virginia. And also a kind of interesting story you had on the Wildlife Center of Virginia. I also noticed earlier this week they had their 2009 numbers compared to 2008. I guess they continued to take in some interesting animals. I think I read someplace where they took in an alligator, all part of a drug raid.
Yeah, that list. If you go to that website, AugustaFreePress.com, it's still on our front page, towards the top of the front page. Yeah, you're amazed, and this is in Virginia. You're picking up alligators in Virginia, so obviously that's those are pets, I guess, for some people. But that list was very interesting. They also have a contest that they're allowing Virginia school children to help name their new red-tailed hawk. That's going to be an education animal. Basically, when the Wildlife Center of Virginia gets animals to come in, what happens is they tend to prefer to be able to repopulate them into the wild. So the animals that they do get who can't, for whatever reason, maybe they need a longer stay, socialization happens and a wild animal gets used to being around humans too much. They can't go back in the wild and be very effective. So what the Wildlife Center will do is transition them into education animals, and when Ed Clark, who's the president of Wildlife Center, will go out to schools across the area and across the state and do presentations about wildlife and wildlife care, he'll bring these animals with him, and so they have a nice little stable of animals, and they like to name them. They don't name them when they just bring them in and treat them and get them back in the wild, but when they bring them in and keep them and use them as education animals, then what they like to give them names. The kids like to to deal with them in that way. So a little contest there, the number of animals that come in continues to impress, and they've been around. They'll be celebrating, I think, their 30th year next year. The Wildlife Center opened in 1982, just in a couple of a shell of an office building, I think, in the Weirs Cave area in Augusta County, and they've been around. Ed Clark is known worldwide for his efforts. They've had a TV show on Animal Planet. So this little venture in Waynesboro is grown to be known all over the world.
Okay, Chris, and speaking of your website, where can folks go to find the Augusta Free Press website, and what do we look for in the coming days, news-wise, from the Augusta Free Press?
Well, AugustaFreePress.com is the website, and in the coming days, we'll be keeping up more with the General Assembly session and seeing what else goes on in terms of national politics developments that affect us here in Virginia. And we know we have our New Dominion magazine coming up here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll be rolling those stories out. We're looking at women in business and the role that women are playing leading business and industry efforts here in the area, and some more fun things as well.
Okay, Chris Graham with the Augusta Free Press. We talk with him on Tuesdays for sports and Fridays for news. And we'll come back with more of Online here on Classic Country, AM 1450, right after this.